Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 modding video. Today we're checking out yet another standalone weapon released by myself and Pig. And today we've got a very special treat, a brand new assault rifle. Matter of fact, one that is bullpup, and that's going to be the Bullpup Scout Assault Rifle, otherwise known as the Kel-Tec M43. Now, interestingly enough, this might actually be my first assault rifle mod. I don't think we've ever made a traditional assault rifle. On top of that, this is also my first bullpup mod, so that's a 2-for-1, doing something very, very different this time around. Speaking of differences, this is another very different mod because this is based on a very modern weapon in real life. Usually we go after those very retro and vintage guns, but in this case, this gun is actually pretty new. So new, in fact, it's never even come out. This is based on a Kel-Tec design that was never released, which was actually going to feature wood furniture, but still have their really cool new bullpup design. So it's not quite as modern as some of the actual bullpup releases, like say the RDB, but it does have the very cool Kel-Tec features while still looking pretty retro. It has some really cool wood furniture with holes all over the place. This thing looks really, really vintage, almost like a retro L85. So since this thing is a pretty much prototype permanent state, this is a perfect gun for me, and it looks retro. I'm out here trying to prove that dates don't matter for the Fallout universe, but aesthetic absolutely does. People get really hung up on, this gun is made after this year, so I don't like it, but in reality, that's not how Fallout works. It's really just about how the gun looks. I mean, we've got the Marksman carbine in New Vegas, for Pete's sake. So, since this thing has a ton of wood furniture, and it's a really cool, unique bullpup design that I know we didn't have on the Nexus, this was a perfect option for us to tackle. And I have to say, I am really pleased with the end result. This gun is super cool. It's going to have some really, really funky and unique designs like the crazy raised iron sights along with that wood furniture, but you can also take it over to a weapons workbench and give it all kinds of other stuff like polymer furniture if you're into that kind of thing, or a variety of different grips and scopes and muzzles to change up how this weapon not only functions but how it looks and feels as well. Since this is a pretty standard 5.56 option, it's going to be very versatile. It's going to be available in semi and full auto with tons of customization in that regard. And additionally, as I just mentioned that it is in 5.56, this will not require munitions. This is going to be one of our vanilla releases. This is not our first 5.56 gun, but it is our first more standard 5.56 gun, the previous being that gigantic power armor pistol we did. Now then, since this weapon is bullpup, it is of course going to have custom animations coming in the form of the AUG animations by War Daddy. It's also going to have brand new models and textures, of course, tons of new attachments, and it is going to be injected into the leveled list, so if you want to get your hands on this gun, it will be spawning out in the world. We chose to have it spawn on Gunners after level 25, and there's even a variant of it that will spawn on the Brotherhood of Steel after level 25. Gunners will have access to most of the options, but the Brotherhood of Steel variant will only spawn with black furniture, so that it doesn't clash too much with their aesthetic. On top of that, of course, since it is one of our mods, there are a couple of uniques you can find as well that will offer not only unique effects, but unique visuals as well. So, altogether for a brief rundown, this is a highly customizable 5.56 assault rifle with the unique aesthetic of it being bullpup. So functionally, especially if you're using my ammo rebalance, it's going to perform similarly to any 5.56 assault rifle, anyone that you download as a mod, or even the vanilla one. But aesthetically, I think it's very, very unique. So it fits not really any interesting roles, but it does have a really, really neat aesthetic. So if you're into that and that's a selling point for you, consider checking this one out. But if you need a little bit more convincing, let's go ahead and check out some of its finer details, starting off with its stats, and then we'll get into the animations and uniques available in this mod as well. So here we are with a short bullpup scout rifle in my inventory. And this thing has some pretty basic stats. You'll find it at standard in semi-auto with a base damage of 40. Ignore the 80 as always. Those are just some perks I have on. It is chambered in 5.56. It has a fire rate of 66 in semi-auto, a range of 125, an accuracy of 71, a weight of 11.5 pounds. To be fair, in this configuration, it is solid wood furniture. And then a value of 122 caps. Of course, though, all of these stats can be changed over at the weapons workbench with a huge variety of different attachments. Not only the base attachments like different receivers and different stocks, but also some accessories and things that can really help you fine-tune this weapon to do exactly what you want it to do. An assault rifle should be pretty versatile. Now then, let's check this thing out with its animations. First of all, we have unequip and equipping animations. And then when it comes to actually shooting this thing, well, let's do a mag dump before we check out its accuracy. Very, very nice. The AUG animations are really good and fit very well on this weapon. When we check out its accuracy, this thing performs pretty dang well with its iron sights, being able to hit pretty much anything you need to. And that last target always gives me a little bit of trouble. And the iron sights are actually a big selling point of why I wanted to make this mod. They were so funky and different. They're basically floating. There's not really anything underneath them. It's so cool, and I wanted to have something like that in Fallout. As you can see when you aim, there's just so much interesting stuff going on screen. I really, really like these, but you can remove them in favor of an optic if you're into that kind of thing. Before we talk about attachments over at the weapons workbench, though, we do need to address the different uniques available in this mod, starting off with the Sentinel, which is going to have a nice desert theme. As you can see, there's some tan plastic with painted camouflage metal. This is going to give you 15% less damage while standing still and not moving, so this is a perfect sniping weapon. Give this thing an advanced receiver in semi-auto, and it's going to do a ton of damage, and you're going to take less damage from an elevated sniping position. If you want to get your hands on this gun, though, you're going to need to head over and find it in a bunker. This one is actually in an unmarked location. It is in a small bunker located between Somerville Place and Vault 95, so good luck. I'll let you know that it is heavily protected by some pretty beefy enemies, so watch out. But as for our next unique, we have a new gunner-themed unique known as the Heat Seeker, which is named such because it does have built-in infrared scopes, a VATS targeting module, and some really cool green furniture to go with the gunner green paint job. And this thing is going to give you 75% faster movement while aiming, so you can use the thermal scope and not suffer from an extreme movement penalty. So you can have this thing pretty much always on, moving around and shooting enemies that are highlighted in orange with your nice thermal scope. If you want to get your hands on this one, it's actually found on a dead gunner on an overpass overlooking Quincy Quarries. That one's a little bit hard to find. You're going to have to do some puzzle solving to get to it, but it is definitely worth it. This is a super fun unique, and it looks really, really cool. So now then, it is of course time to check out everybody's favorite segment, the attachment section. We have a lot of attachments here, starting off with the receivers. We've actually got standard all the way up through advanced for semi-auto, and then right beneath that we have all of the auto receivers from automatic through powerful automatic. So depending how you want to configure this thing, whether it's sort of a 5.56 sort of DMR or scout rifle, or if you want it to be full auto assault rifle, you can choose to do that. But we have more stuff going on in the barrel section. We've got short, standard, and long. Pretty simple for barrels, but there's a lot more options elsewhere. For stocks, we have the full stock, the light stock, which will change out the front grip there to a lighter option, the gunslinger stock, which adds a nice pouch to the back for faster reloads, right above the ejection port, so don't worry, that's not covering anything too important. Then we have the recoil compensating stock, which adds yet another grip change from the standard little grip to a nice big one that is sort of a mirrored version of the regular grip. And then we have the marksman stock, which adds a cheek rest on the back with the bipod on the front, and that cheek rest will actually change with the furniture when you apply a mat swap, which is pretty fun. Then we have the magazine section where we have standard, a quick eject version with a nice little loop there to grab and make it faster, a medium, and a medium quick eject, as well as a large. Now, there's no quick eject large because standard is 20 rounds, medium is 30 rounds, large boosts you all the way up to 50, so there is no quick eject for that as a bit of a balancing act. If you want 50 rounds, you're not going to be able to reload that super fast. Now then for sights, we have the standard iron sights, glow sights of course, a hollow sight, a reflex sight, a combat sight, which is something we are revisiting from the West Tech Optics pack. I actually completely remade the ACOG, and now that's something we may include in the future as something for different assault rifles, weapons that it actually fits on. So it's a see-through scope. It is not like a regular short scope, but it is a sort of mid-range between the hollow and reflex and the short scope. The combat scope you can actually look through and use, but it's not going to fade to black and use an overlay like the other scopes. So if you want something that's still mid-range, but is a little bit more fun and interesting, this is definitely a cool one. And we kind of had to include it on this weapon. It was sold with this thing, or rather displayed with this thing at various SHOT shows and different showcases. And it's also reminiscent of the L86, so I thought that was a pretty fun option. But additionally, we do have a short scope in the form of the Colt 3x, a medium scope, long scope, night vision scope, recon scope, and thermal scope. Lots and lots of scope options for this guy, so you really get to pick what it is going to be for however you want to run this weapon. Then we have a muzzle section where we have options for a flash hider, a compensator, a muzzle booster, which increases fire rate, a muzzle brake, which is a massive honkin' muzzle brake that looks really cool on this guy, and of course, a suppressor, and I'm really happy with this suppressor. It looks super neat. Then we have the option to change out the furniture from wood to green to tan to black. Typically, we don't really do matte swaps like this, but this one kind of deserved it, so you can choose the style of this thing along with the different attachments that accompany it. And then finally, we have an accessory slot where you can throw on the option for a flashlight, a recon laser, or a VATS targeting module. So many options to make this gun exactly what you want it to be. Lots and lots of stuff here, but feel free to customize and show me some of your favorite options, maybe over on the Discord. So yeah, guys, that was a whole lot of stuff. I think that covers basically everything in the Kel-Tec M43, otherwise known as the Bullpup Scout Rifle in our mod. This is a really cool one. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I didn't know how this was gonna look in Fallout, and it seems to be that most people really seem to enjoy this thing. From the modern end of the spectrum to even the retro guys, everybody seems to think it fits decently well, at least with the options provided over at the weapons workbench. So, customize this thing to your liking, decide if it fits in your load order. If you do enjoy it, consider dropping an endorsement, or consider dropping this video a like if you enjoy the video and what I do over here on YouTube. If you'd like to support my work directly, you can of course click the link down in the description to support me on Patreon. It is completely optional, of course, but if you do enjoy what I do either here on YouTube or the mods I'm constantly pumping out over on the Nexus, it's a nice way to show you support, but again, completely optional, just a place for donations. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!